pardons on Ross. I was actually surprised that it was a full pardon and not commuting his sentence, because if we are technical about this, he was facilitating drug trafficking, and those charges. You can get 20 years in prison for facilitating drug trafficking. There was allegation that was used by the prosecutors that Ross was actually trying to put a hit on people who were involved on the Silk Road, which a lot of people, but they never charged him for attempted murder or a conspiracy to assassinate or whatever he was trying to do. So the pushback has actually been that the prosecutors staged a character attack on Ross, so he was unpopular to the public, and then they handed him 2 life sentences plus 40 years in prison without ever charging him with conspiracy to murder. So I don't know what's going on in that case, but what I will say is that I don't think, first of all, I'm a libertarian, and I don't think drugs should be illegal. I don't think that these laws work. That's my personal views. I know a lot of people disagree with me on this. Uh, in terms of Ross committing crimes, he did commit crimes technically. If you believe the Ross's drug trafficking crimes should get him 20 years in prison, I respect your opinion, but I don't believe he should serve 100 years in prison for it. I think it's ridiculous that how the state power was used against Ross. I think that several layers of the U.S. government acted in coordination to take down Ross in this way, and to make an example out of him, because they wanted to make an example out of anybody who dared to make an illegal marketplace that used Bitcoin. So I think that's why freeing Ross is very important to Bitcoiners, because the United States government tried to use their state power to destroy a person's life, to make an example out of him, to put fear in the minds of Bitcoiners. And I think that in the end, I'm glad he was pardoned. I think that it's an important part of the process of healing as we push this technology forward that's going to help humanity, that we do commute and pardon the sentences of the individuals who are serving massive and unfair sentences in prison. And I think one of the worst things that can happen to an individual in a modern democracy is when the state comes after one individual with that much force. It is one of the worst things that can happen to a person.
I was just gonna add, what's ironic about the Ross Ulbricht thing is that if they had just not thrown the book at him and gave him like 100+ years, if they were just like, hey, you were facilitating drug trafficking, and we're just gonna give you 20 years because that's what the usual punishment is, I don't think it would have whipped up like enough really like outrage and support for him to like make such a big push for Trump to have to make a campaign promise to free him after he was elected. And I think it's only been like 12 years since he was thrown in prison. So if he had got sentenced to 20 years, he would actually still be in prison right now. And he would be in prison for 8 more years if he hadn't gotten like the pardon, which I would argue he probably would not have if he only got 20 years. So like by going super hard and giving him like over 100 years in prison, it actually caused Ross to be freed a lot earlier than he quote unquote should have. And even like the should have, I guess, is like, could be argued, because it's like some people don't think that he should have gotten any jail sentence at all, right? But and I think you could certainly make an argument for that, because it's like, in America, you have murderers and rapists getting way longer than 20 years for that, right? Or way shorter, I mean. So it's like, it's definitely seems like it's super unfair to have given him such a long sentence. And if they had just tried him normally, like, and instead of trying to go after him, he would still be in prison probably, right? Like, am I wrong, or what do you think about that, Sunil?
Yeah, I think that you did a better job making one of my points for me, actually, is that, yeah, like if they just charged him for what he did that was legal, they could have put him in jail for 20 years, and they could have made an example out of him in a way where he probably wouldn't have gotten pardoned. But I don't think it's appropriate for the state, for the government to attack one individual citizen the way they attacked him. It is so dystopian. It is so scary, like imagining being in that position. And he was like this 20-year-old kid who just like was being a kind of a silly idiot. I mean, he it was brilliant what he created in some sense, but then he like is almost like he's a kid. Like just leave him alone, like, let him like he made a mistake. Throw the book at him to a point, but like this is the weaponization of state power, and it is that scares me. So I'm glad there were so many libertarians who stood up and fought back because it was completely inappropriate how he was treated. It was a miscarriage of justice.